One of the greatest betrayals in Lord of the Rings history happens during the fall of Gondolin. And this is after Tor has shown up and he's brought the message of Ulmo, the Valor of Waters, to Turgon. And Turgon's nephew, Maeglin, has been speaking against it to some extent. But Turgon kind of relents. He doesn't fully listen to the message and abandon Gondolin. No, he chooses instead to block off the secret entrance in the dry river in the seven gates of Gondolin. No person may enter or leave Gondolin, the realm, anymore. But his daughter Idril has this foresight, this sense of this darkness coming, and she chooses to build a secret path that not anyone really knows about, save herself and a few. But what ends up happening is that, Tora becomes loved by the people of Gondolin. He's of the house of Hador. They've met them before, being that they've met his father Hur and his brother Húrin when they showed up in Gondolin years prior to this. And they accept him to the point where Turgon even, is okay with Idril marrying Tor, the second union of elves and men in Middle Earth history. And what ends up happening is about 7 years later, around the time where Eärendil is 7 years old, I should say, we find out that Maeglin, who is kind of formed this hatred for Tor because of Idril, the cousin who he lusts for. And it's not love, it's definitely lust. It's a unhealthy obsession even. And this idea that he wants to be the next in line of the kings of Gondolin. He wants to be next in line after his uncle, King Turgon. But the problem is that Maeglin becomes more focused on his work. He loves smithy, loves to quarry, he loves to do this type of thing, just like his father Eol, the Dark Elf, who learned it from the dwarves of Nogrod and Belagost. What ends up happening, though, is that he gets lost. He leaves and goes against the rules of Turgon, where he is captured by Morgoth, because it's actually Húrin, the father of Turin Turambar, who has given away the somewhat location of Gondolin, where he stands outside of the encircling mountains and he calls out to Turgon, saying to remember the fens of Serek, where him and the men of Dorlomin defended Turgon and his people during the Battle of Unnumbered Tears, allowing for them to escape. And now, with Morgoth watching Húrin with his spies, now knows where Gondolin is and starts putting all sorts of different forces outside of it until they finally capture Maeglin. And Maeglin is not craven. He's not a weak individual, but the sheer torture that Morgoth describes to him causes him to kind of fold. And he gives away the location of Gondolin. And Morgoth tells him, hey, do what I say, I'll give you Gondolin. I'll give you your cousin Idril, and you could have her hand. And thus he goes back with a smile, and no one knows the better that Maeglin has betrayed the very people he loved and that he desired to see when he escaped with his mother Arathel, the sister of King Turgon. And it's during like the day before the Gates of Summer, where the people of Gondolin are having a feast, that Morgoth finally strikes. And you can see the fire in the red in the north coming forth. And before the people of Gondolin have any idea what's going on, it's too late. The city is being sieged by Balrogs and dragons. And Morgoth's forces, like the orcs and so many other things that we don't even hear described to some extent. What ends up happening is that Ecthelion of the Fountain falls fighting Gothmog, the lieutenant of the Balrogs and of Morgoth, and he perishes. The two of them defeat each other. King Turgon falls when the Tower of the King is torn down and perishes as well. And Maeglin, finding Idril and Eärendil, the son of Tor, who is 7 years old now, puts hands on them, only for Tor to show up, and for Maeglin to be defeated and thrown off the Amangwareth, where he hits the side of it 3 times, just like his father with the Karak door when he was tossed off years upon years prior to this. And thus we see the fall of Gondolin because of the betrayal of Maeglin, who had been accepted so openly because he was, Turgon's sister's son. He was his nephew. But Tor and Idril lead some survivors who are injured, as well as women and children, through the secret passage that Idril had created, almost foreseeing this doom, where it is there that they come to a place, the Kirith Thoranath, a very dangerous area of the Akoriath as they cross through, only to find themselves right in the face of a Balrog.